All right, hey everybody. Thanks for attending our panel today. We're going to be talking about using data to beat out the competition. I'm Jamie Adams, Chief Revenue Officer at Scorpion, and we'll start just by having everybody do some quick introductions. So, Jonathan, we'll kick it off with you, man.
Hi, everybody. Hope you guys are doing great. I know it's great to be here with all you guys and share best practices. My name is Jonathan Barnett. I'm the founder and CEO of OxyFresh Franchising Company. Started in 2006. We're big on, we love ROI, tracking ROIs, and we've grown to close to 500 units since then. And I can't wait to hear some of you guys' thoughts the rest of the convention and share some of the stuff we failed at and some of the stuff we've won at.
Good afternoon. My name is Doug Hall. I'm Vice President of Marketing at Propelled Brands. I work on the Fast Signs business, and we've got about 780 locations.
Well, what's up, guys? My name is Brigham. I'm the founder of Hello Sugar. It's a Brazilian wax, sugar, and laser hair removal salon. Got 100 units in the system. We've been franchising for about 3 years.
Hi, everybody. I am Alexandra Russo, and I am a fractional chief marketing officer. So I partner with brands who, for whatever reason, if they're not ready for a CMO or if they're in a transition state, I work with them for about 4 to 6 months to scale up their marketing programs, manage their teams, kind of figure out what needs to happen in order to bring more revenue in.
All right, so we've got some great experts, different types of brands, different types of businesses, so should be some good stuff today. Let's just start just high level, and Jonathan, we'll just start with you. Talk a little bit about how you leverage data specifically in OxyFresh and in each of your businesses to help drive better decision-making processes from a marketing perspective.
So for us, we've always been really focused on the ROIs, and so for us, we know we shoot for 4 to 1 ROI, 3 to 1 is okay, and there's different ways you guys can, people track ROIs. Is it the first, how they saw you first, or how they saw you last? And so we go off of, we just track that really well. So in the beginning, door-to-door flyers had different marketing codes, different whatever. We track those, and it's now, as push marketing has changed from yellow pages, newspaper inserts, to now digital, which is a little bit harder to track. And so we use UTM codes pretty much on everything. So if they get to our website from pay-per-click or from Google Business Profile or from SEO, the UTM code goes on our site, and then we have a little promo code that changes. If you click the phone number to call, even if it's 877, it'll be actually a different phone number. So it's a different number than they think, and it rings into our call center, and the promo code shows up on the scheduling on the phone center screen. So we can put that into our CRM, and we know actually how, instead of just saying Google, we know if it's Google Business Profile or if it's a pay-per-click or whatever. So ROI has been a big thing, and I know the talk nowadays is focus on ROI is bottom level funnel. I think that's the easiest, the best ROI. But to get to that next level, creating brand awareness, as people talking about the journey of the customer, is challenging now because there isn't great ROIs on creating brand awareness. So that is a challenge. Creating brand awareness creates more opportunity for more impression shares, more pay-per-click. So that's kind of the next phase that we're trying to learn more about. And there's only so much bottom funnel marketing you can do that's focused on ROI. So at some point you have to go to that next level, and it is a long-term investment.
Yeah, good call out. Doug, what about you guys? How are you at Fast Signs leveraging data to make better marketing decisions?
So a couple of things. The first one is we're using our first-party data now more than ever. We've really done an exhaustive exercise of about 1 million customers where we've been able to go in and assign them using the NAICS codes to get them in the correct classification and industry that they should be. A lot of times franchisees don't have the time or put it in correctly into the POS system. So we validated that data to really understand who our customer is. And then the other thing is the return on ad spend. That's really what we're really focused on this year and next, is really working with our franchisees from a revenue standpoint and helping validate the campaigns and the marketing efforts that they're doing. we're looking at their conversion rates and really helping them understand that, is it good leads or bad leads, or is it that there's an issue inside their center where they're not converting the leads that are coming in at a high level. But we're able to use that data and really, talk with them confidently and directly in using that data, and the franchisees have really responded positively in the last year or so to those conversations.
Okay, Brigham?
Yeah, all right. So I'm going to give you guys some actionable things that I think can apply to a lot of businesses. So you guys know what lifetime value is, like how long a customer stays with you. It's really hard to measure, especially for businesses where like they come in, they stay for a little bit, then they cancel their membership, they come back later. Like when do you call that a lifetime client? If they're always going to be coming back at some point, it's like really hard to measure that. So one of the things we did recently was we started using what's called a churn rate in software. You guys heard of this? Churn rates? Churn rate means how often do you churn your customers? So if I have a 50% churn rate in 2 customers, in 2 months, I will lose all of my customers. If I don't pull people in, I'll be completely gone on churn. So what we can do is we can look at the total members that we have in our system and the total cancellation rates to create a churn rate. And that churn rate essentially tells us how long our memberships stay on, and that we can use to extrapolate into an LTV. So it's a really simple way of going from not having a lot of data, really complex problem with LTVs, and getting there from a churn rate. So now we start measuring churn rates. And I'll give you an example of how we're using this. Last year we had a retention conference and we said, okay, how can we improve retention at our salon? Because we're a membership model. We had two ideas. One, we can start giving free services away. And another was the Costco chicken model. You guys know Costco, $5 chickens. It's like, I will never raise the price of chickens, what he says, yeah. So we're trying that as well. So we're doing $5 underarms. Underarms are like $20, $25 normally. But if you come to us, it's usually an add-on. It's never really a service on their own. So they're getting a great deal of $5 underarms, which sounds awesome, right? So we tried both of these and we beta tested them in different areas and we saw how that changed the churn rate. And the nice thing about looking at churn instead of LTV is I can instantly know what the difference is going to make on a month-to-month basis. I don't have to wait 10 months for the end of the lifetime of the client, right? So we started measuring these, and ironically, $5 underarms, while they loved it, did nothing for our LTV. And that retention effort of prior to the appointment, when we like say, hey, next time you come in, we're going to give you a free brow or a free underarm, made huge strides. In fact, we increased by about $300 LTV from like a $700 to about a $9,000 to $1,000 LTV from doing this. And it's a simple way to measure it through churns that allowed us to make actionable decisions with retention.
Good call out. I'm going to switch the question up just a little bit for you, Alexander, just because you're in a consulting role. So when you're working with brands, what are the kind of the primary KPIs and data points that you encourage them to get under control from a marketing perspective so they have a better grasp on what's working, what's not, so they can make better decisions?
Sure. It really depends on the type of brand, and I think it's all about what is your goal. So for digital campaigns, for example, what type of campaign are we running? How do we know that it's working? And we know that well, first, scale back. Who is our audience? And I've worked with a good amount of brands who are like, it's women. And I'm like, uh-oh, we have to really narrow that down. And that, sometimes that's a conversation in terms of educating on that. And in terms of what's the most important, what are we trying to sell? I tend to work with kind of very similar to yours, beauty spas and appointment-based services. So really, I mean, from a higher level, even before I get to speaking with their franchisees, I'm working with their website, really. What is the customer journey? How easy is it for me to spend my money here? And if it's really complicated, then before we throw more money at ads, we have to fix that problem. Because I think a lot of times people forget kind of about the things that they put in place early on, like their website, like some of their lead source channels and how they're acquiring people. And they're like, oh, that's done, and then they move on to spending a lot of money. But if there's a problem in that entire booking process, we're kind of now wasting dollars. So first, we've got to get the house in order. And I really preach on that, and I'll get into that later with some more of my answers. But really, is it easy for people to spend money? And once it is easy, great. We can put a lot of money behind digital ads and everything else.
Great. So a question about first-party data that was brought up a moment ago. I guess question for show of hands, how many in the audience are leveraging first-party data in your digital ad campaigns? Okay. All right. So if you're not, you should definitely key in on this piece. So Jonathan, talk a little bit about how you guys at OxyFresh are leveraging first-party data in your digital ad campaigns.
So, first-party data, I don't think people realize how valuable it is, and it's sitting there, especially if your brand has a lot of traffic to its website, as well as your CRM. You can upload. You can take your CRM, your databases, and re-upload. You know, pay-per-click has changed a lot, and now with first-party data, with Performance Max and things like that, you can really instead of saying my target audience is women 20 to 24, you can really upload this first-party data in there, and Google's new AI stuff will really tell you who your customer is in real time and display different ads to different people. And if you're using vendors that do connective TV or things like that, it can really use that first-party data to know exactly who to play those commercials to. In real time and cheaper than just hitting the whole area. That's, you know, this zip code because it's this demographics and hyper focus it. So I'd really suggest getting with a vendor that understands how to ask the right questions of ask your vendor that's doing your digital marketing, how are you using my first party data? Do some research on your own, maybe use Gemini and ask it to explain to you what first party data is and how you can use it with Google. That's a great tool to give you some insight so you can talk to your vendors and understand that. The franchisees are probably, it's gonna be a little bit over their head, so you wanna just make sure the vendor is, your vendor that you're using for your Z's is using first party data and maximizing that opportunity, because it's a lot different now than it used to be.
Yeah. Doug, you guys have an interesting model. You know, primarily a lot of B2B, large transactions, and a lot of times, most of the time, research about products that Fast Sign sells happens offline, right? But the consultation happens offline. They come in the store. There's lots of interaction points. So how are you guys kind of mapping first-party data through the advertising and marketing all the way through the transaction and using that to optimize different ad campaigns at Google or otherwise?
Yeah, so first of all, we used our first-party data to really help us with our creative assets and our content development. So we wanted to make sure we were talking to and using our most important customers in the ads that we were developing. We also looked at seasonality, and we wanted to understand when they were purchasing so that we could have the ads running when they're making the decision a couple of months in advance of those invoices coming in. So we've used that to help, you know, plan our marketing ads and our marketing plans throughout the year. We also are using it with franchisees. It's helping direct their outside sales efforts. That's an important part of our business. Instead of telling them to go after healthcare, we can tell them to focus on hospitals or dentists or chiropractors or whatever and help them understand who their customers are that are using our services for the most part.
So I'm going to switch the question up for you, Brigham. Again, in the spirit of you're running a service-based business as well, right? So there's lots of data living in lots of different systems, right? From marketing all the way to your point of sale, your CRM. How are you actually taking action to integrate data from disparate systems in a way that you can make sense of it and use it to make better decisions?
Man, this is like a 10-minute question. All right, so overview. We've got, you know, here's a booking flow. You have ads.
Sorry, time's up. Next.
Okay, yeah, good job.
I'm kidding.
You have ads that come in on Facebook. Let's just start there. Then they go to a call software. The call software is going to text them and send them messages. And then they're going to go to an email platform that's also going to do the same. And then we got a booking platform. And then we got retention efforts on the back end. And all that has to sync. So have you guys heard of Zapier? You guys know Zapier? Zapier is awesome, right? So it allows two different parties that are not related to be able to connect and speak to each other. So basically, take data from one thing, throw it into Excel. It's the gist of it, right? Tableau or BigQuery if you get larger. Take data from one thing, throw it into Excel. You can use Zapier. This is basic level stuff. Like you don't have to be a programmer to do this. And then from there, you can take it and build and extrapolate tables and graphs from that to actually like look at the data and do stuff with. And it would cost you probably, I don't know, 25, 30 bucks an hour on Fiverr or Upwork to find a guy to take, once the data's in there, to just do stuff with it, whatever you guys want. And I'll give you a simple example. So here at Hello Sugar, we have an appointment. The appointment goes into Excel, and we see the name of the person, the name of the esthetician, and then we can see if they pre-booked or not. So we have a little bit of data that's going into Excel. From there, we can also see the service name, and there's a specific service for when they sell a membership. So then we can see all the services you possibly sell a membership on, all the times they sold a membership, and create what's called a membership conversion rate. And then from that, we can say, okay, this esthetician is performing 45% or above, give them a raise next month. And so every month, if they do 45% or above, we raise their commission a little bit. And that incentivizes them and aligns them to continue selling and motivates them because they know if they hit 45%, they get a bump in pay. So that's like an easy, actionable way to take data firsthand, use Zapier to connect it to an Excel thing through Upwork to find out some programming of the Tableau reports, and then make decisions on that that'll really increase sales. We started doing this, by the way, and our memberships doubled. As soon as we started measuring this and aligning the pay of the commissions of the estheticians with the data, our membership sales literally doubled overnight. It was so cool to see.
Alexander, when you're working with brands, what are some more emerging data points that brands are interested in tracking, taking action on a day that may be different than, say, a couple of years ago?
I think understanding lifetime value. So there was, for a long time, I was hearing a lot of, well, what about, getting the client in the door? What happens once they're in the door? And, there's more importance in that second appointment, the third appointment, not more importance, but equal importance. Just because they have a really good first appointment doesn't mean that you don't have to work equally as hard to get them in the back, or back into a second appointment. So I think there has been a change in understanding that just because you get them in once, your job isn't done. I don't think the marketing is over with. You have to do a really good job, and that's part of ops or training, however that is. Then you've got rebooking. Is that operational? What messages are going out to that client to encourage them to rebook if they didn't do it in person? How can we get them to leave a review, refer a friend? Like, we still need them to do some stuff on our behalf, but we have to help them get there. And I think those data points are finally starting to connect with brands. And, everybody, it's easier to sway somebody to come back in a second time than it is to start fresh again. And I think that's a big trend that I think is a really positive trend, understanding the power of your clients. So it's not just new all the time, but that you can start building, loyal fans.
Yeah, I want to stay on that. It's a great point on lifetime value and loyalty. Advertising, marketing, there was a session earlier today where there was a comment that it's getting more expensive than it ever has been, and I think we'd all agree with that. So when you think about lifetime value and marketing to your existing customer, how are you, Jonathan, using data within OxyFresh to figure out when's the right time for us to maybe remarket to an existing customer?
This is a great question, and I think that we always focus on when, especially onboarding a new franchisee, you got to have a way to get the phone to ring in the first place. So you got to have that, right? Or else we all shouldn't be here. However, I think that marketing is getting more expensive and more complex, and now more than ever, we have to focus on making sure that we've spent so much to get a new customer that they're keeping the retention. So starting off, we have to make sure that in your software, whatever you're using, that it's accurately keeping track of your repeat customer percentage for the month, or repeat, or whatever job. Sometimes the customers might get added as new customers when they're not. So just make sure your software is allocating that. That also will help you, and I'm gonna get to the answer of your question because it's really important, but it will help you also when a franchisee is not getting an amazing ROI. You can show them, but listen, the lifetime value, if you have this plan, which I'm about to talk about, if you have a great plan to create lifetime value, keep them coming back, it also makes those conversations easier, that they're investing, getting that database built as quickly as possible, and then you have a plan to keep them coming back. So I'll just tell you the 4 things that we do to keep them coming back. One is, NPS score. I know some people are against it, some are for it. Our brand average is 83%. That's really good. That means that customers like us, that they're going to come back. However, they're going to seeing ads from other competitions, right? So here's the 4 things we do. First is you make sure you have a good NPS score, and so you know that you're doing stuff right. That's the first thing. The next thing that we do is our software auto texts them 6 months after they've had their carpets cleaned. Automatically, it has their name, and we know what they cleaned last time. And it has a link to book again online. We want to book online. It's cheaper. They don't have to use our call center. So it makes it super easy. Code's tracked, so we know. So if they don't book off the text, then the next week they get an email, right? And if so they get text, they get an email. And then they get if they don't book off of those, they get an automatic postcard. So you have an API with a postcard vendor. They automatically get a postcard with their name on it, almost like hey, it's been 6 months since your last oil change, you're due. It's like that for carpet cleaning. So we do the text is cheaper, email's cheaper, and then if they book off of those, the postcard doesn't go out. And then you got the postcard. Another one that we're just looking at adding is having the API with our social paid partner where it automatically does social display ads, social paid ads. So if they haven't used this in so many months, then the social paid ads start triggering on. So we have 4 different ways. They're going to see us 4 different times: text, email, social paid, and postcard. And if they book off any one of those with our API, with our software, then it restarts. So they booked, and then the next week they're saying, hey, you need to, they get a postcard, hey, book with us. It's like, it would be weird. So anyways, those 4 things are really good, and they all have really good ROIs. But then again, you can go back and let's say you're doing pay-per-click and it's not that great of an ROI, or social paid. You can show your franchisees, you know what? You're investing in your database, and we have a great plan that will, as long as you have a great customer satisfaction score, they're going to repeat. And so retention is, I think, after COVID and all this stuff, we've all had to refocus. We've all done SEO, but now we've been focused on CRO, conversion rate optimization. So it's one thing to get them to your website. It's another thing to convert. It's one thing to get a new customer. It's another thing to get them to repeat. So I think we really got to focus on a great plan to, just as much as we focus on new customers, a plan to retain the customers.
Yeah, really, really good answer there. And I think it's important to think about understanding like what your ideal customer is from a repeat business perspective, right? So Jonathan mentioned his trigger point is around the 6-month mark. That's not going to be true for all of you. Some of it's going to be more frequent, some maybe a little less frequent. But really dialing that in, and then you just got a cadence set up, right? It's just those touch points, right? First, get an SMS, then an email, then a postcard. Now you're implementing the Facebook ads or social ads. But figure out what those are and then key off those trigger points so you can automate that follow-up and get people back in the door.
And you can know every brand's different. Like his business is going to be, how often does your customer come in? Every month?
Yeah, every month.
Okay, every month. So ours is really before, more like 9 months, but we want to make sure we hit them before our competition hits them. So if they don't book on the 6 month, then we get another round at 9 months, and then 18 months, and then after that, we just save it for.
Got it. Yep. What about you, Doug? How do you guys use retention marketing and think about retention marketing and repeat business and Fast Signs?
So the first thing was really identifying which of our customers were repeats. And so we're able to look at, we've got really 2 groups that we look at: high value, and then we're looking at customers that are purchasing 9+ times a year from us. It's not a lot, but when they do, they're a really valuable customer to us. So what we've done is we've identified what those industries are, and now we're using it to influence Google and pay-per-click and create target audiences. But then we also are using email campaigns that are industry specific to reach out to those customers, repeatedly and remind them. Because one of our biggest challenges is not all of our customers know all of the products and services that we offer, and we don't have SKUs and we don't have products. Everything is customized, and so they don't really understand all of our capabilities. And so a lot of times our customers are going to someone else for things that we can do, and they can just be coming to the same place. So we use that information to really educate them on our products and services and draw them back into us, not necessarily for that same product, but another product or service that we offer.
Got it, Brigham. I'm going to switch the question up just a little bit, but I do want to keep it on retention marketing, just different, because you operate a subscription business or membership business. So you've got recurring revenue coming in from most of your customers. How do you think about cross-sell, upsell against LTV, right, to increase that average on a month-over-month, year-over-year basis?
Yeah, we obsess over this number. So, okay, have you guys ever drove down the highway, seen a billboard? Okay, on a billboard, have you ever seen a billboard that has 2 or 3 different product offerings on it? Like, never, right? Like, you're never gonna be like, buy this or that. It's the same thing with upsells, okay? And I see a lot of estheticians, but probably just in business in general, people make a lot of mistakes with this. You can't upsell more than one thing at a time. Don't try. It's like people need to make one choice. Costco proved this. I love Costco, by the way. They had like 20 jams out, and people would come and they'd sample a lot of jams, but they wouldn't buy, and they had 3 jams out, and people bought a lot more. Why? Because they have fewer choices. I've walked into ice cream shops and walked out empty-handed before. I can't decide. So, okay, so here's how ours works at ours. We do an ad that says free bikini wax. Get a free bikini wax. And if you do something for free, you just got to plaster that all over. No credit card required. Tell all your friends. It's really free. Free means free. Then when they come in, we say, hey, do you really want a free bikini wax or do you want a full Brazilian wax for $20? So we upsell them to $20, okay? And we get them in for Brazilian. If you don't know the difference between the two, Google it, but make sure Safe Search is on, all right? All right, so then you get in, you come in for the Brazilian wax. Once you're in, we say, look, would you like to come back again? So we don't say buy a membership. We say, would you like to come back again? Yes. Well, then you're going to want a membership. So we upsell them to a membership. Then once they're on the membership for 1 or 2 times, we say, wow, this is really good. You might want to try sugar. Sugar's going to be less painful. It's a little bit more expensive, but try sugar. And then after like the 2nd or 3rd visit, we say, look, you've been coming to us for a while. Why don't you try laser? And laser is double the revenue for the business and like a waxing lifetime value. So our lifetime value doubles when they pick laser. So you'll notice this, like we go from like completely free, no like nothing, to one thing at a time across this customer journey to get them to fully upsell into like a $1,400 service.
All right.
How do they repeat on the laser though?
Yeah, so we're gonna get it. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. So lasers, you have to come in like 8 times to get permanent reduction. Yeah, you can't just do it once. And you have to do touch-ups. Every year you got to do maintenance touch-ups, and if you want to get into this, 90% profit margin on laser because there's no cost of service. It's amazing.
All right, Alexander, you're working with a brand. You've got to give them one tip for retention marketing against their customer base. What's the one tip you're going to give them? I know that's very general, but where would you start?
One.
Okay, I'll say 2. I'll give you 2.
I would say be willing to kind of, quote unquote, make a sacrifice in order to keep your clients or your members happy. So for example, in my previous role, I was with an eyelash extension company. We were membership based. And we knew that our members were going to drop off at 9 months. That was the average lifespan of a member. So getting ahead of 9 months, what could we do at month 7, month 8 to stop that 9 month? And we knew that our add-on services were really popular. So what if we could start giving add-on services for free to these valued members so that they didn't feel stale, that they, felt valued, and it was a special offer to our long-term members. And so, to us, we're giving this away. It's a $2 add-on, really, cost of goods. And for the member, it makes all the difference. So being, willing to kind of give freebies or I really hate free things, but I don't hate free things, but I hate advertising free. So being able to kind of give things away in order to make people happy. And then I would say for retention marketing, we need better systems, CRMs, having automated processes, anywhere that you can make your franchisees' lives easier through technology. There are so many platforms now. So much of this is automated. It's automated in your lives, I'm sure, by things that you already signed up for, products that you love. So how can you implement that in your franchise system? Getting ahead with texts, and I loved everything that you were saying about you've got it down pat. At this month, you're gonna get this text, you're gonna get this email. Making it really simple because nobody's answering the phone. And your franchisees have other things to do. So how can you make your franchisees' lives easier? However you're gonna make their lives easier, you're going to make your clients' lives easier. And it's gonna be a one-click thing. Oh yeah, I did mean to rebook, thank you. And so getting ahead of it, and yeah, just kind of surprise and delight along the way.
Love that. Okay, we talked about ROI earlier.
Jamie, I'm so sorry to interrupt.
No,
Can I
no.
please just
I
add
interrupted
one-
you earlier, so
we're
you
now
owe
we're
me
even.
one.
We're even. Just one more thing. I'm just really passionate about this one. The retention side of things.
Is it going to be about lasers again?
Don't you worry. I got you. I got more of that coming for you. With retention, pay a lot of attention to the 3rd appointment. Okay, if you're gonna give something away for free, it's the 3rd appointment you really gotta focus on. All right, so first appointment, get them in the door, give them something really like a promo value. 2nd appointment, they're kind of figuring out who you are. It's the 3rd appointment that they become a loyalist. That's when they develop a habit. They trust you, they like you enough, they're kind of set. It's like Starbucks, I know what my order is already before going. It's the 3rd appointment. So if you're gonna really go all out on something and do something really big for them, that's the appointment you wanna focus on for retention.
Good call out. So, talking about ROI earlier, I think that's probably the most general metric that people look at from a marketing perspective. Besides ROI, what is another data point in your business that you look at when you're thinking about measuring marketing effectiveness?
Absolutely. So, obviously, ROI. Yep. ROI is you have to know the ROIs, right? You got to know for every dollar they spend on this program, how many dollars are they getting back? But there are factors that affect that. So one of the things we look at with our online schedule that we have, we can see the data from our online schedule. If somebody goes to book an appointment, how many days out they have to book. So in our franchisee dashboard thing, I can see a franchisee is 17 days out for a customer to book. They probably should pause their marketing campaigns and stop complaining that their marketing is not working, right? Because they're 17, no one wants to wait 17 days to clean their carpet when the dog shit on the carpet. They're not doing that. So don't blame the marketing vendor that it's the ROI is bad, because as a ZOR, you're going to hear them complain about the vendors or the PPC vendors or whatever, but you need to have their back a little bit and be like, look, you're 10 days out to book an appointment. So that could be a big factor of why your ROIs are bad. So first appointment booked out is a big one that I think a lot of us haven't really looked at, but it's a grade. You can give them a grade. Like for us, we want to be under 3 days, right? Maybe under 2 days, right? And then that's an A. So you can figure out with your own brand what that is, but that's big. It affects everything. Another one is upsell percentage. I know that seems simple, but if you're not tracking that, and franchisees never want to be below brand average. So if you, in your dashboard of your software, if you can show your brand average, or if it's not good, then say the brand standard until it gets good, then you can do brand average. But no one wants to see that they're below the brand standard or the brand average because they think they're the best. So upsell percentage is straight to the bottom line. So that's a big one. And then I would say one that I really love to look at is sales per hour. So I know that sounds like not that big of a deal, but if for us, example, if our average job is $250 and it takes somebody 4 hours to clean it, that's that's almost like what, $75 an hour or something like that. And you got to pay your technician almost half of that to keep them. We want our franchisees to pay 20% of their job to technicians. So that means they need to be, over $120 an hour. So sales per hour is whether you're cutting hair or you're doing lasers or waxes, whatever the thing is, or signs, the sales per hour is a matrix. It's a metric that you really got to look at, because then the franchisees can get their percentage of their employees' costs back in line. We have some franchisees that have their room set in our software at 50 minutes to clean a room instead of 15 minutes. So they're going to have to pay their commission. Half of their revenue is going to go to commissions, because at the end of the day, they have to keep their employees. So sales per hour is a really important one to look at, and they can either raise their prices or get more efficient. Either way gets you to the same thing. And so those upsell percentage I had down to talk about, and obviously ROIs, and the sales per hour.
Got it. All good stuff. Doug, what about you guys? This is on now.
Yeah.
Doug, what about you guys?
Yeah, so the conversation starts with, return on advertising spend. We want them to be at a 5X, and depending on what their number is, it dictates where the conversation goes. If they're at that or above, we want to talk to them about their keyword strategy or increasing their budget or looking at geography opportunities. If they're below that, we then turn and look at their conversion rates. What is their rate of converting a lead to an estimate and then an estimate to a completed job? And what we found out is that the people that are frustrated with their marketing campaigns have a very low conversion rate, right? And, they're very upset. And then we talk to them, and they'll have, over the last month, they'll have 65 or 70 leads that, okay, who called these leads? We're not real sure. Like, what's your process? Well, we're not real sure. So then we need to talk to them about, their internal process within their center and having someone that's responsible for those leads and reaching out to them. We want them to call back their lead, within 20 minutes. Hey, we've got your lead. We'll have you an estimate by end of the day today or tomorrow, right? Or we're going to call and follow up with you. This is a detailed project. We want to talk with you further. So we want to make sure we're talking to the customer. They're talking to 3 or 4 other competitors we know, and we want to be the first one to get back to them. So we want to really understand how they're converting their leads to estimate, then estimate to job. And as that number goes up, the satisfaction goes up, and they're happier with their marketing campaign. So that's really what we're focused on this year. We've done an analysis, and we really think that's the biggest opportunity to drive our revenue. If we can get our network to increase that number by 10 percentage points, we can get there quicker to higher revenue versus trying to spend more dollars in advertising.
Yeah, great call out. What about you, Brigham? Besides that ROI, what is another metric that's
Yeah,
important?
like John, I'm laser focused on ROI.
See what you did there.
Yeah, there we go.
See
Got
what you
call
did
out.
there.
All right, so I almost got sued over this, so I think it's worth talking about. Let's talk about. So okay, on advertising on Facebook. Okay, so let me tell you this. There's a balance going on. On the one side, using leads on Facebook gives you the most data, allows you to find the most customers, right? So the more data, the better Facebook works, right? Or Meta, whatever you want to call it. On the other side, cost per completed appointments, right? Those kind of like data points put into Facebook gives you the most quality, higher expensive, more quality. And one's not right, okay? It really depends on like your market and everything. In Atlanta, people in Atlanta love free stuff. They love free stuff, but they don't buy it. That's just like the general thing I'm seeing, at least in my business, okay? So if we were doing lead-based advertising until Facebook, Meta, like find leads, man, like I get leads all day for like $2 a piece. Those people don't buy. So then we started doing cost per completed appointments, using that data, pulling it back into Meta, and I'm spending like $4 or $5 a lead, but my cost per completed appointment started going down. So I'm measuring cost per completed appointments, but I'm funneling and telling Facebook based off of which one, I'm balancing the two, is gonna give us the lowest cost per completed. The truer to Meta, the data, the better it's gonna find people. So because of these like first party restrictions with Apple that are happening now, it's like killed e-commerce on like Meta. And so one thing we've done to get around that is we start doing lead forms on Meta itself. And like with a website, I can't transfer all my website data to Meta. I can just give them a name, phone, email. But on Meta, if I have a lead that's captured, Meta's already got a ton of information they've collected over the years on these people, and they can use that to promulgate and make their algorithm better, and you'll get lower cost per leads. So just to summarize the big picture, either do leads or cost per completeds, whatever that looks like, plug that into your Meta or TikTok or whatever you're using, and then see how that affects your cost per completed. And the more data you have, the lower that lead cost will be, but that doesn't necessarily lead into a lower cost per completed.
Same question.
I would say yes to everything that everybody has said. And I think it's really, like everybody is saying, kind of breaking it down into these different parts. You have a high amount of leads. If you're running lead ads, great. What's your conversion rate? If it's really low, then you've got some work to do on the conversion, whether that's retraining or maybe just flipping the entire script of how you're doing your lead nurture process. Maybe it's bringing it all in-house, which I've done before. And I really like it, by the way, and I highly recommend it. And so being able to kind of figure out, okay, what are we going to do as a result of this? Maybe your leads are really high. When I started with a current client of mine, there was one spa that the leads were really high, the conversion was really high, but they had been pretty stagnant in their growth. Their rebooking was at 2%. So they were getting people in the door, and then nobody was coming back in. So it's, looking at the entire sum of its parts. And then if you've been around for a while and things feel stagnant, I think it's okay to, we used to run an in-house digital agency at my old company. And finally we were like, why are we so obsessed with lead generation all of the time? For places that have been around for a long time in their area, their markets, like they don't want to learn more. They want to book an appointment. So trying out different ad types. For new locations, we would start with traffic ads to just kind of have a flood of activity towards the website and these landing pages so that we could retarget specifically. And then they would go into a lead generation or a direct, click to book. And we would play around with that and see the success and see if that was making an impact or not. But being able to get creative and thinking outside of, I think, what is a franchise box a little bit, which is leads, leads, leads. But if the leads aren't going anywhere, then it just feels wasteful.
Yeah, good call. I'm going to come back this way. So Brigham, next question to you. Tell me a little bit about how you've used data to better understand your customers. and then leverage that data to make changes or tweaks to your offers, to your products, to your services.
Yeah, I mean, we wax Brazilians. I mean, that's what we do. So
We're
like,
clear on
yeah,
that. You made that very
we
clear.
don't have like a big product offering. You know, you can choose between. One that's unique though is, and Jonathan touched on this a little bit. We were looking at the trends on like how far out people book, and we noticed that 50% of the people book within 4 days. So then the same thing with Jonathan. We started reducing our ad spend if they're booking more than 4 days out. In terms of upsells, we started tracking what all the upsells were in the room. So our average appointment is like 1.3. So every 3 appointments, one person will get an upsell of something. It might be a lip and brow. It might be like an underarm or something. And then we use that data, because we don't want to cannibalize those, to determine what our free offerings are. So if most people are booking a brow, we're not going to give them a brow for free. We're going to give them like an underarm or like a stomach strip, because sometimes, you know, the happy trail grows up, and you got to take care of that as well, you know? So we give that for free sometimes, and it's not that more expensive for us. So,
Learning all sorts of things today, aren't we?
yeah, I got you, Jamie. I got you. You just come and see me. I'll take care of you, buddy. So we find out what those upsells are, and then we don't cannibalize those, and we see what works for retention in terms of keeping people long term. And then again, we're just going to really focus on that third appointment, because that third appointment is like where people become loyalists. And then the freebies after that can be less valuable over time.
Very rarely am I caught speechless. You just caught me. Okay, what about you, Doug? How are you guys using data and finding out information about your customers that shape how you think about your services?
Okay, say that again?
Sorry, I'm still thrown off by.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about how data about your customers, right, has maybe learnings that you've had through data about your customers has influenced like different changes you've made to your products or services.
Well, I think the most important thing that we did was verifying our data, right? We had over 1 million customers in our database, and we weren't really 100% sure what industry they were in. So the first thing was validating the data, right? And understanding who our customers are, and then what their purchase behaviors are, their frequency, seasonality, those types of things. And then we've gone out and we've built our content and our information, you know, our TV ads focusing on those key industries. And then as well, creating industry-specific customer journeys through email when they come in, so that we're talking to them in their industry with their relevant products, so that they understand that we know who they are, and we're not just sending a construction project, you know, or image to an educator or someone that's in you know, at a university or something along those lines. So it's really understanding our customer and talking to them directly, one-to-one.
Great. Jonathan, before you answer, after Jonathan's response, I'm going to open the floor up to any questions from the audience. So if you've got questions or you want to think for a moment, be prepared. But Jonathan, yeah, I just want to hear your feedback on that.
So I'm going to speak on some of things that it was a failure, but it's still I think we can learn. Nothing's a failure if you learn from it, right? So I always say, we like to say at our office, keep the main thing, major in the majors and minor in the minors. And when we say that, we major in carpet cleaning, but we added on, we thought it was great back in the day, we added on hardwood floor cleaning, and we added on, you know, we could do mattresses, we can do boats, we can do these things. So, but what we learned was, like, when it comes to, like, pay-per-click, for example, there are certain keywords that really, you got to focus on that really work. And just because you offer these additional services, don't waste your budget on the keywords that don't produce the best ROI. So for example, for us, hardwood floor, when we bid on those, we're competing with a bunch of hardwood floor cleaning products, and the budget's wasted. And so we used to tell franchisees, add the hardwood when they buy the franchise, get the hardwood floor machine as well, and you can do both. Now we say, keep the main thing, do the carpet cleaning, and if you start seeing when you're in the home, you add the hardwood floor on, you start adding that on, then it's worth getting the hardwood floor machine. But we don't want them to spend their budget majoring in the minors. Just because we offer all these different services, we want to keep the main thing, and then when we're in the home, we tell them we also do these other things. So,
Yeah, that's great answer. Anyone in the audience have any questions for the panelists? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's kind of a take on one of your questions. Are there any of the traditional metrics that you've since abandoned that just never turned out to be all that beneficial to you, and why?
That's a really good question.
Traditional metrics, what would be traditional metrics?
Well, when you guys all spoke about return on investment.
Right.
We know that you're going to be using that. Is there any that, especially in the digital age, have kind of gone away? I know for us, return on investment, lifetime value of clients are stuff we point to all the time.
Right.
Is there anything that you guys have found just not that beneficial?
Upper funnel, we haven't been awesome at it, to be honest. We've really focused on bottom funnel. I'm just now getting into middle funnel and upper funnel, creating brand awareness, but I like to piggyback off of what other people are already doing on upper funnel and just piggyback my paid strategy off of when they're searching off of my competitors' TV ads. I'll let somebody else answer that.
I got an answer on this one. Pre-book rates. We thought pre-book rates were going to be super important. Pre-book is when like you're at the end of your appointment, you book again for the next time out. And it turns out they're not that important. I think what happens is, you're naked with your legs spread open on a table, and somebody asks you to rebook, and they just say, yeah, okay, of course I'll rebook, but then they don't show up. So it wasn't that important to us.
Yeah, I can really relate to that.
No, to add on to what he's saying, that one is something we did abandon. We thought we had the best idea. We released it at the conference one year, and it was to get him to, at the end of the appointment, to pre-book for their next appointment, right? So we have like an average, Ryan would know, but he does a lot of our paid per-click stuff, but I think it's about a 17% cancellation rate, and it used to be 20. We're trying to get that lower by auto text, 3 days before, day before, stuff like that. But what do you think our average cancellation rate was, people that we pre-booked them when we were all proud about how many people we were pre-booking? Close to 50. It was close to 50% when we booked them out 9 months that they would. And guess what? That schedule's blocked, and they cancel same day or day before. It makes, now there's this open space that no one else can book in, and it really messes up. You have to pay your tech for that time. It's so, while we thought it was amazing to pre-book them out, we thought it was awesome, it turned out to be not good. So that's why we go to auto email, auto text, all those things. So that's when we abandoned, and we thought we'd hit a home run till we look at that metric of the cancellation rate.
Let me go over here because he had his hand up as well. So
Hey, so when you're looking at things like lead to conversion as a metric that you're measuring and tracking and whatnot, how valid is that metric when the pipeline management may not be as consistent across your network?
Maybe get rid of the idea of franchisees having to convert. So for one of my clients, that was a consistent, constant problem. The franchisees, well, they're not marketers. This guy was an accountant. This woman came from HR. They're not good at selling. Well, then why are we putting the entire company's revenue on their shoulders to make these conversions? So instead, what we did was implement a CRM, took the franchisees out of the equation, and we are kind of operating like a product company does. Enter, your name and information. I'm sure you're getting texts as we speak from your favorite brands trying to prompt you to buy. Not about you guys, but it's compelling. I'm in marketing, and every time I fall for it. So, and basically, it's making a world of difference. So, for example, one franchisee, after doing this for 3 months, their revenue increased by 120%. And I think a lot of it had to do with the CRM, but then also it's because she and her team had more time to spend on the actual appointment as it's happening. And it's not a coincidence that her rebooking rate also went up over 100%. And it's because they were able to talk more to their clients and get off the phone. And so I would say if it's not working, consider just doing a 180.
And to speak on that, I don't know how, if you guys, I don't know how everyone else does it, but we have a scheduling center. We answer the phone for all of our franchisees. I can't imagine some of the franchisees we have in our system, as you guys probably are thinking of some in your head right now in your system, of them like doing a great job converting or answering the phone or whatever. So we want them to work on their business and not be stuck working in it. And so it comes with some issues. They're gonna complain of how everyone wants us to answer the phone differently. But at the end of the day that's one of the things that is a value proposition of our brand is we answer the phones, book their appointments, then it's apples to apples on the conversion. We know our average answer time, we know our average, if it's not converting, we have reasons why. They're so booked out, price, we measure it also versus independent franchisees having their own reasons why it's not working.
all right, I think we have time for one more question. Anyone? Oh, okay. All right, great. Perfect. Anyone else? Sure.
So my brand's a little different. It's not full service or appointment based. It's a kava bar, which is like trendy coffee shop kind of thing. So it's like a lot of walk-in traffic, a lot of loyalists. One of the things that I was wondering, maybe you guys can speak to it, is if we should focus more like on the tech side of it. We have an app that was just developed, so is that more, beneficial to do more of like the pop-up through the app, or email traditionally is I don't love email personally for stuff like that. So I'm just curious what you guys have seen.
I think social could really help you, like organic social.
One of the things we do well. It's the other ones we just have never.
How about referral marketing? So if you have all these brand fans, being able to activate them and get them to do some work for you, if they're able to get a reward for how many friends they're able to bring in. Because if you have loyalists coming to you every single day, you know that they're telling their friends, oh, you've got to go to this coffee shop. I just discovered it. I really like it. So if you're able to reward them for doing that, everybody loves that. And it tends to be, in my experience, that's the most effective marketing there is. I could see a really well-done campaign for a coffee place, and if my friend tells me, oh, don't go there, I'm probably not going to go there. So, to the opposite, I could see some kind of bad marketing, but if my friend is like, no, you still got to go, I'm going to check it out.
Alexandra doesn't know it yet, but I'm her agent, and she's available for hire. So if you'd like to negotiate the rate,
Thank you
we
very
can
much.
talk after as well. All right, everybody, thanks a lot for your time and attention today. Brigham's got stations set up for you outside.